All right, talk to you soon. Well, state and territory leaders were spoiling for a fight yesterday ahead of the COAG meeting over schools and hospital funding and GST distribution.
Yeah, it threatened to overshadow the PM's planned focus on domestic violence and the ICE epidemic and national security. To talk to us about the outcome, we're joined by Assistant Treasurer Josh Frydenberg from Melbourne. Josh, good morning to you. Welcome to the show. Now, there was plenty of that pre-meeting tussling going on, but first let's look at the Prime Minister's agenda, domestic violence and ICE. What conclusions has the government drawn from its discussions on domestic violence? First up.
Well, good morning, Larry. Good morning, Monique. It was a very constructive meeting with the state and territories getting together and praising the Prime Minister's leadership, particularly on this issue of domestic violence. Rosie Batty talked to the leaders before they actually met, explained the extent of the problem, which we're seeing in Australia, one woman a week being killed by their partner in a domestic violence incident. Clearly unacceptable in today's Australia. So what has been agreed is a national domestic violence order scheme, which will see orders recognised and enforced across state boundaries, as well as greater cooperation between police forces and also the court system, so people can't escape their obligations under the law.
Yeah, they're two very important aspects of domestic violence, which certainly campaigners have been trying to implement for some time now. What else is the Prime Minister and the government planning to do to lower domestic violence rates?
Well, there was an announcement yesterday of a $30 million campaign to build awareness in the community about the extent of this problem and to explain to men that this behaviour is clearly unacceptable. And I'm really pleased about the momentum building around this issue. Rosie Batty is a hero in her own right, given what she's been through, and she's been an outspoken leader for reform in this area. So I think there is unanimous agreement among the states and the territories. The other big issue that was agreed yesterday was around ICE and the national task force that the Prime Minister has announced. ICE, in terms of its usage, has doubled across the country in the last 12 months. It's a national scourge, and Ken Lay, the former police commissioner in Victoria, is leading a national task force to get better coordination and to actually put in place best practice initiatives right around the country.
OK. All right, Josh, let's move on to the other stuff. And despite other ministers saying the discussions were in fact fruitful, WA's Liberal Premier Colin Barnett said he must have been at a different meeting. He said the meeting failed to address the elephant in the room, and of course, you know, we're talking about the GST. Now, the states were never going to agree, were they, to give WA more?
It was always very tough. I was at a Treasurers meeting just a week and a bit ago where that same issue was discussed. Clearly we have a situation, Larry, that is now unfair to Western Australia. They're getting under 30 cents back in the dollar for their GST contribution. When you consider, since the GST was implemented, no other state has got below 81 cents. This is pretty tough on Western Australia, particularly as we've seen a dramatic fall in the price of commodities, particularly iron ore, from around $100 this time last year to under $50 today. And what that means is less royalties for the Western Australian state government, which combines with a lower GST take for them. It's pretty tough. So we have said as a federal government that we're prepared to consider changes to that distribution system if states want to put initiatives forward, and there'll be another leaders meeting mid-year around July.
Well, Finance Minister Matthias Cormann and Foreign Minister Julie Bishop have both said that they believe that it should just be capped at last year's level of 37 cents. Is that something that the government is definitely going to do now?
No, look, the government is saying let's have a bilateral discussion with Western Australia to look at ways that we can alleviate the pressure on them. But clearly at yesterday's meeting there was no agreement by the territory and state premiers as to a fairer share of the pie to Western Australia, so to speak. So we are now looking at alternative ways to discuss with Western Australia how we can support them through these tough times.
All right, Josh, thanks for taking the time to run through that with us this morning. We appreciate that.
Great to be with you, Larry and Monique.
Thank you.